I have a funny story to tell you, and I know that every time you speak in front of large audiences, you're supposed to have an icebreaker, and a lot of times they aren't true, or they're a silly little joke. But this one is actually true. So as some of you might know, some of you might not, when you transition jobs, it's very difficult on families. And quite frankly, since 2005, I counted, this is our 6th move. And hopefully it'll be our last. But it's our 6th move in 11 years. You do the math. That's very difficult on families. And so one thing that I tried to do is, as I returned back to the city of Houston, where my family still lives in Bel Air, and my wife and 3 kids, was to get here a little bit early. My kids hadn't seen me in a while. Quite frankly, haven't seen me a whole lot since the season started, and then recruiting, and then on to the transition of a new job. And I was thrilled to death, tickled pink, as they say, to head home and spend a good hour or two with my family before I got here. And I got dropped off at the front door, rang the doorbell, Michelle opens it, you know, she's frazzled. And Maverick, our 3-year-old, is throwing a temper tantrum on the ground. And I said, babe, I got this. I got this. You go continue to get ready, and like a good dad, I'll take care of this. And so I said, Maverick, get your butt up, stop crying, okay? Let's go have a good time. And he looked at me and he said, Dad, go home. You go home. Get out of Mama's house. You go home. So I wanted to say, hey, buddy, you know who pays the bills around here? But no, so that's very difficult on a family when you transition, but that's not why I'm up here. I do want to give a special thanks to Jeff and Mindy Hildebrand for inviting me here. What a tremendous job you do, Jeff, as a regent on our great board of regents. And to David Bailiff. Coach Bailiff was probably, I think Michelle knew, so I didn't call her. I'm trying to think who I called, but Coach Bailiff might have been the first call that I made to say thank you for everything that he's done for me and our family in our career. That's a man right there that took a chance on a young 29-year-old wide receiver coach who'd never called plays, never coached quarterbacks a day in his life. And he said, you know what, I'm going to make you my offensive coordinator. And we went 11-3 that year, shattered all kinds of records, and I wouldn't be standing here today if it weren't for David Bailiff. My email buddy, Greg Jones. I saw your name on the sponsor list, so I figured it, as the speaker, it was my obligation to thank you, but I appreciate all your well wishes along the way. The Touchdown Club, this is my first time at the private school event, but it certainly won't be my last. And I've been going to the public school event for what feels like an eternity now, and you guys do an unbelievable job raising money for scholarships and raising money for charitable causes. And then finally, to all these great coaches up here and these great players, what an honor. And again, they wouldn't be there without the people that are important to them in their lives. Oftentimes, these coaches up here, it's their wives and their families for these players. It's their parents, hopefully. And I urge you again, this won't be the last time that you've heard me say this or hear someone say this, but make sure you tell those people thank you, because it's important, and it's a phrase that we don't use enough in our society. The 2 things I did want to talk about, they said I got about 10 or 15 minutes, and I said, good, how about 8? Is that good? So I do want to talk real briefly, kind of a couple things. I'm not allowed to make a recruiting presentation because we're in the dead period. So it's very difficult for me to talk and not be presenting the great University of Texas, the flagship university of the great state of Texas. Number 18th ranked education in the state of Texas. So I'm certainly not going to do that. 18th ranked education, not in the state of Texas, I'm sorry, in the United States, according to U.S. News and World Report, so I've heard. But that's not anything to do with recruiting. Trust me, it's just stating fact. So I did want to talk to you, though, about a couple things that I believe are very strong parts of our program, very integral parts of why we were able to take 2- and 3-star recruits at the University of Houston and go 6-0 against top 25 schools, and to go 3-0 against top 10 schools, and 2-0 against top 5 schools with lesser talent. And one of those things is the very first pillar of our program, and we call it 1-0, and I know that's very cliche, and I know it's, you know, everybody wants to talk about, well, we just focus on this week, 1 week at a time, 1 game at a time, but we break the phrase down a lot more intricately. And for us, 1-0, we've broken it down into competing every second of every day in everything that you do. And there's 3 main components that you compete against, hopefully every day. One, we talk about a direct opponent. So if they line you up against another guy and say, block that guy, or tackle that guy, or beat that guy in a race, that is really, really easy to get motivated for. But in the real world, the direct opponents exist as well. If you're a salesman and you know the top salesman of the month gets a bonus, guess what? If you're a true competitor, you're going to want to be that top salesman. You're going to want to beat the other guys and gals that are with you in that sales team. So it holds true. It's easy to get motivated. The other 2 are very difficult to get motivated for. And the second one that we talk about all the time is competing against your own best self. And I think that's very difficult, especially for 18 to 22-year-olds to do. But I break it down into football vernacular and say, okay, if I go through this drill, and this is the 101st time that I've gone through this drill, if it's not better than the 100 previous times that I've gone through this drill, then why the heck did I do it? Why would I do it? It's called going through the motions. It's called autopilot. Okay? It's called not giving a you-know-what about getting better. And so, again, I challenge myself every time I wake up. I tell myself, when I put my head down on that pillow tonight, and was I a better husband, a better father, and a better head coach at the University of Texas? And if the answer is yes, then I want to know that day against my own best self. And so I think every time that you take a rep in football, you guys aren't done playing football. Every time you take a rep in practice, in a game, whatever, you're competing. Whether it's a drill, again, that you've done 1,000 times, whether it's something mundane that you've done 1,000 times at your job, do it better than you've ever done it before. Ever. Ever. And then the next time you do it better than that last time. And you do that over and over and over again. And you continue to compete against your own best self, and you'll find you'll wake up a middle-aged man like me, and maybe you've had some success in life. The third one, really, really difficult, that we compete with every second of every day. And that's that little demon in your head, right? We're all fallen creatures. We're all, and I'll get to this in a minute, we all succumb to that little voice in our head that says it's hot. Take it easy. I'm tired. Press snooze. I'm lazy, so it's okay to turn my paper in late. I only get docked 10% if I turn it in a day late. That voice is there. It's in all of us. It's in every great one. Whether you're a successful businessman like Jeff Hildebrand, a football coach like me, or a 17-year-old student athlete, that voice exists. The people that are successful in life know how to compete against that voice every second of every day. It's in every great human being. But the great ones have mastered the ability to compete against it and defeat that voice every single day. The second thing that I did want to talk to you about is very important, and I touched on it briefly. How do you get a team of lesser talented individuals to beat a team that has these uber athletes and these first-round draft picks, 5-star recruits? How does that happen? And to be quite honest with you, it's a very simple word called love. And I know that sounds maybe a little bit corny coming from a football coach, but again, I'm going to get a bit scientific with you. We're humans, we're fallen creatures. And what does human nature tell us to do? We gravitate towards the things that are easy, towards the things that are convenient, towards the things that feel good, towards the things that are painless, towards the things that are self-serving. Okay? Well, how do you win football games? The exact opposite of human nature, right? The exact opposite. You've got to do things that are hard, things that oftentimes are painful, that are inconvenient, and that are self-sacrificing. So how do you get 18 to 22-year-olds to do these things that are completely opposite of human nature? Completely on the other side of the spectrum. And to me, in my years of coaching and just studying people, studying young people especially, there's two great motivators in life. And one is fear and one is love. And love wins every time. It wins every single time. And you say, well, love, what does that have to do with football? Well, hopefully I've shown you that when you get a locker room full of guys that genuinely love each other, that hand their heart to their coaches and say, without reservation, without pushback, without any evaluation, without any questioning, and hand their heart to their coach and say, coach me, I'm yours. I'm yours. Do with me what you want. I will do whatever you tell me to do. And then on the flip side, the brotherhood in that locker room, and you teach and foster the ability to love each other. It's amazing, and I use the example all the time. If I set out to do something, it doesn't matter what that thing is. So whatever it pops in your head when I say do a thing, okay, whatever pops into your head. If nobody that I love is counting on me to do that, if nobody that I love in return is counting on me to do that, then guess what? When it gets hard, when it gets painful, when it gets inconvenient, when it gets hot, when it gets humid, okay, I can stop doing that thing and walk away and move on to the next thing. Why? Because I haven't let anybody down. Anybody down. Now, take that same scenario, that same thing, whatever it is, okay, and you tell me that my wife, Michelle, and my 3 kids are counting on me to do that thing. You're going to have to kill me to make sure that I don't do that thing. It doesn't matter how painful or how inconvenient or how hard that thing gets because of the love that is in our family. And so I think coaches and players, open your heart up. You know what's really cool in our program, like really cool, is to love the guy next to you and go really, really hard. Okay, we don't have too cool for school Johnnies that take a play off here and there and want to kick their feet up and only hang out with the cool kids. That doesn't exist in our program. It's really, really cool to be emotional and really, really cool to give yourself to your teammates and to your coaches. And amazing things can happen when you motivate yourself with the love and the genuine care for the happiness of the person next to you that you truly care about. So if I leave you with 2 things, again, it's compete every single second of every day. Compete. Because in this life, nothing is handed to you. Nothing. I've never met a successful person ever in any walk of life that when I have asked them, you know, how did you do that? How did you make all that money? Or how did you achieve all this fame? Or how did you change the world? Or how did you affect all these lives? And they look at me and say, you know, it was really easy. It was really easy. That's never happened. It's never happened. And it never will happen. Okay? Achieving success in life and whatever endeavor that you choose is really hard and requires an enormous amount of competitive spirit. So compete every second of every day. And then don't be afraid as a young man to open your heart up and give your heart to your teammates and your coaches. Let them know how much you love them and use that love as motivation to go really hard and push through in times of adversity, in times of difficult circumstances, to be able to push through all that. So if I can leave you with those 2 things, hopefully I've done my part. I've told you a funny story, left you with a couple things, thanks some people. So I think my time is up. I think I'm right at 15 minutes. Thank you again for listening to me, and hook 'em horns.